I moved from a desk job to creating a real estate empire and having financial freedom. I want the same thing for you. Welcome to the Real Estate Mentor Show. I'm your host, Toby Brown. I've been in real estate over 16 years and I'm the founder and CEO of the Brown Group, a full-service real estate firm. Did you know that 90% of all millionaires own real estate? This could be you. Create generational wealth through real estate investments. Let's do this. Welcome to the Real Estate Mentor Show. I'm your host, Toby T.B. Brown, where I come to you live on my podcast to help you, to help this generation create wealth through real estate investing. Look, I've been investing in real estate for over 16 years, guys, and I've built a multi-million-dollar business investing in real estate, and I want to help you do the same. The journey has not been easy. It's been challenging. I've had my ups and downs, and that's why I created this podcast, because I want to share with you my experiences and my journey through investing in real estate. So in today's show, I want to talk to you about some of the do's and don'ts when investing in real estate. And these are from my own personal experience. This has nothing to do with somebody else. This has nothing to do with a book or an article that I've read. These are my own personal experiences that I've had through my 16 years of investing. Some of the things that I've done that didn't work out too well. And I want to give you advice on how to avoid some of those traps. But before I do that, I want to share with you an interesting statistic about real estate investing. Since 2000, real estate has outperformed the stock market by approximately 2-to-1, returning 10% annually compared to 5.43% for the S&P 500. So just think about that, guys. Real estate has outperformed the stock market. There's a reason why 90% of the rich and the wealthy have done so through investing in real estate. You hear me talk about that statistic all the time. There's a reason for it. There's a lot of people out there that like investing in stocks. People are pouring tons of money into their 401ks, IRAs, EFPs. Like, real estate is the way to go, guys. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a 401k. I do not have a retirement plan outside of real estate. Real estate is my number one singular investment vehicle. Now, I do own some stock in some companies that I bought years ago. Some of it even before I started investing in real estate. I love Apple. I own a lot of Apple shares, but I'm not actively buying stocks right now. The stocks that I have been invested for years. And they're doing well. The companies that I'm invested in are doing well. But all of my money gets poured into real estate. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can see it, and it performs. It kicks off cash flow every single month. So I just wanted to share that statistic with you for those of you that may be a little skeptical about investing in real estate, be a little skeptical about how real estate investing, the returns are compared to other investment vehicles like the stock market, like 401ks. Real estate is the number one vehicle, guys. It's the holy grail of investing, and I say that time and time again. If you really want to maximize what's available, if you really want to create generational wealth, it's going to have to be through real estate. And again, that's why I have this podcast to help share with you some tips, some ideas, some processes, how to get started, how to grow the business, and how to have a real breakthrough in real estate investing. So again, today I want to give you 5 of my top don't do's in real estate. And again, these are from my own personal experiences. No particular order, but number 1, don't get emotional when buying. This is very, very difficult not to do, because we all have taste, we all have style, we all have things that we like, things that we don't like. And sometimes those tastes and wants and needs can come into effect when you're looking at properties and when you're buying properties, negotiating on properties, bidding on properties. your own personal taste gets factored into it, and that's not always the best idea. I remember specifically on several occasions early on in my career, getting emotional when buying properties. Generally, I would get emotional during the negotiating and bidding process, right? So if I have an offer out on a property and there's multiple buyers looking at that same property, now we get into this bidding war where you create a multiple offer situation, and the seller is really savvy and really smart, especially if you're dealing with a bank or someone that's foreclosed on a property. They're trying to maximize the price because they want to get the highest price that they can get out of the property, obviously, right? So if you have a multiple offer situation, now you got buyers competing for the same property. So I'm submitting my offer, somebody else submits a higher offer, then somebody else submits another higher offer, and it goes on and on and on until somebody basically taps out. And sometimes there was several occasions where I got emotional, because I'm very, very competitive, and there are a lot of ways and a lot of times where that works in my advantage. And then there has been times where that has not worked in my advantage. And this is one of them, right? And so I got emotional, my competitive spirit came out, and there were several occasions where I get into these bidding wars and I end up paying more for a property than I intended to. I have thousands of examples that I could give you. I could stay here with you all day long giving you specific examples, but bottom line is that I got emotional and my competitive spirit forced me or led me to pay more for a property than what my target price was. And I've gone over that. And I paid for that. It has cost me, right? Because as I always say, you make your money in real estate when you actually buy the property. If you buy right, then you're gonna make money. And the number one rule in real estate is never lose money. Don't lose money. And because I got emotional and because of my competitive spirit, I end up overspending on properties at times. And it created very, very thin margins for me. And a situation where I didn't make the money that I should have made on the property. And so that's one of the don'ts that I want to share with you guys is you're going to have to find a way to control your emotions, set your target prices, set your parameters like I've talked about before, and stick to that. There's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of properties out there. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds and thousands of deals that come your way. Losing one property is not going to stop the show, right? Now, unless it's just the crown jewel, diamond in the rough, it's going to triple, double in price in the next 6 months, 1 year, whatever the case may be. Unless you have inside information about that property that makes it worthwhile going outside of your target price to bid on it, then hey, go for it. But in general, you have to be disciplined when buying properties. And don't get emotional. Stick to the original plan. Don't get outside of your original price target. Number 2, don't buy in bad areas. This is key too, guys. I've had to learn this. My experience in general was just really looking at the price of a property. I would get drawn in initially to the price of a property. If it was really, really, really discounted, then generally I would try to buy it regardless of the location. And this was, again, early in my career. So how did that come back to bite me? Well, I would buy the property at a deep discount. I would pour all this money into it to get it in rentable or sellable condition. And then I was unable to either sell the property at the price that I needed, or I was unable to rent the property at the desired rent because nobody wanted to live in the neighborhood. And there's several factors that go into, bad neighborhoods. You can have high crime, maybe it's a low income neighborhood, maybe the neighborhood is decreasing in value. Remember, one of the number one advantages in real estate is appreciation. You want your property increasing in value over time. That's that appreciation. That's one of the number one benefits to owning real estate is appreciation. One of the 4 driving factors of why you should invest in real estate is appreciation. So if you have decreasing values in a neighborhood, that's not good. that means the value of your asset is going down. That's what you call a bad investment. That's not a good investment. So these are things that, are beyond your control. Once you pour that money into that property, you can't, singularly, you can't prevent the crime. Like, you can't increase the income in that neighborhood. You can't stop property values from going down. You can do your part with your one property, but you can't control the rest of the neighborhood. So high crime, low income, decreasing value, that would be a high risk situation for you. So you want to avoid bad areas. The other thing that happens when you're in a bad location, a bad neighborhood, is you can have break-ins. Again, when you're in a low income area, there's poverty surrounding the area, then people get real desperate, guys. And it's unfortunate, but it's reality and it's truth. You have theft on the properties. People break in, they steal your appliances, they steal your hot water tank, they may even steal your light fixtures, they may cut the sheetrock out of the walls and steal your copper. Copper is expensive, and they can take it and go pawn it, and get some cash from it. You have drugs. Some neighborhoods are infested with drugs, which means you're going to have all those other things are going to just increase even more in terms of crime, break-ins, things of that nature. And so it becomes a non-desirable area, and it puts you as a landlord or as an investor or as a property owner in a very precarious situation, because you run into difficulty of getting a tenant to live in that property. And if you do get a tenant to live in that property, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to fit the mold of that neighborhood. They're going to be a low income tenant. Maybe they're going to have a bad rental history. Maybe they're going to have, maybe possibly a history of crime. You just don't know, because you have to think about it. Somebody that really takes pride in living a quality life, that doesn't have any of those negative traits, they're not going to want to be around it, And anyone that would want to live in that neighborhood, chances are they're going to have, one of those traits, and you don't want that as a landlord. So I would advise you to evaluate the neighborhood and the location just as much as you do on the price. Just because a property is deeply discounted does not always mean it's the right deal. So you want to make sure that it's in a decent location where you can actually have tenants that want to live there, or have a home buyer that wants to actually live in the area. Another don't. This is another big mistake that a lot of people make, and I made this mistake one time. Don't borrow high interest money. Generally, high interest money is going to come from a private lender, and a lot of investors get desperate when they want to get involved in real estate and they don't qualify. They're not credit worthy. As I always talk about, they're not credit worthy, so they end up borrowing money from loan sharks or private money lenders, and they end up paying way more in interest than they would normally pay if they had went the traditional route of going through a bank or a lender. I did this one time. I bought a property. I went through a private investor because I was stuck at the time. I already had, I think, 7 or 8 properties, and I hadn't found another bank that was willing to do business with me at the time. But I found a great deal, and I had a short time period and when I needed to buy the property. So I went to a private lender to get funds to buy the property. I went through with it. I think the interest was like 12%. I paid him 2 points up front, another 3 points on the back end. Long story short, the lender ended up making more money on the deal than I did. And that drove me nuts. And I said to myself, I don't care what kind of situation I'm in, I'm never gonna use another private lender ever again. Because no fault to them, because it's a business and I don't blame them. And they have customers out there that they service and people that use them. So I'm not mad at them. But in terms of me and what I'm wanting to do, I worked too hard to find the deals, and I put too much energy into getting the property where I want it. I want a good asset that's gonna cash flow and make me money. So I put in all that work just to borrow money from someone else is going to make more money than I'm going to make off of the work that I'm doing. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So instead of putting yourself in a desperate situation where you have to use private money lenders, get yourself in a situation where you become credit worthy so that you have the borrowing power to get the best rate and the best terms that you can possibly get. That's how you're going to be successful in real estate. Don't get desperate and borrow high money, high interest loans, guys. I have a guy that I know. He was actually in real estate before I was, right? And so I remember him telling me, maybe 10 years ago, that he was using private money lenders, right? And I was like, wow, at the time I couldn't believe it, but hey, he had his own strategy. He had a bunch of properties. He was doing deals, to each his own. About 3 months ago, I ran into that guy and he told me he's still paying 12+% to this same private money lender that he was using 10 years ago. Now, I didn't say anything to him, but in my mind, I'm thinking, he's got to be a fool. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like 12%, that's crazy. That's crazy to be paying that type of interest rate on rental property. Quite frankly, I don't know how he's making money. I really don't. The private money lender, I guarantee you, is making more money than he's making on his properties that he owns, that he's managing, that he's collecting rent, that he's doing all the repairs and maintenance, that he's paying the taxes, he's paying the insurance, he's doing all this work to maintain and manage these properties just for the private lender to make more money than him. That's not the way real estate works. That's not the way it's supposed to go, guys. So that's why I advise you, don't use private money lenders, okay? The next thing, the fourth don't in real estate, try to avoid, especially early on, try to avoid taking on massive rehab projects. One of the biggest mistakes that I've made is early on, again, taking on these big renovation projects just because of the discount and the price that I was paying for the property. 90% of the time, I was underestimating the cost of the repairs. So you evaluate the property, you do your normal walkthrough, you do your normal inspection, and you come up with this number that you feel is what it's gonna take to get the property renovated. And generally, when there's a big number on the rehab, there's always these unforeseen things that you don't see in your walkthrough that come about when you start your demo and your renovation of the project. So you end up going way over budget. I've done this a few times, way over budget. My budget was originally $20,000. I end up spending $40,000 on the property, which completely flip-flopped the profit margins, right? And I went from 20% margins to negative 20% because I'm way over budget. And now I'm stuck, right? Like, how am I going to get out of this situation? So you have to either dump the property, sell it at a discount to get rid of it. You have to start recruiting other investors to come in, a more experienced investor to come in and take over the project for you. And you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to be in that situation for you personally, and you don't want to be in that situation just from a credibility standpoint, and you don't want that on your resume, because you have to go and tell the bank, like, I can't complete the project, or I completed the project and I lost money, which again is the number one rule in real estate: do not lose money. So if you are a beginning investor, stay away from massive rehab projects, because you can lose your shirt. You can lose your shirt, guys. Set your targets in terms of what you're able to take on. Set a number. Stay away from massive rehab projects, because you can get in trouble. Because again, there's so many unknowns with big projects, guys. There's so many unknowns. And just because you think you bought the property at a discount and you think the spread is wide and the equity piece is going to be wide once it's completed, there's so much that you don't know that could go wrong by taking on a massive rehab project. So try to avoid that at all costs, okay? And then lastly, try not to over delegate. This is one of the things that I tried to do at a certain point in my real estate investing career. I think I had got up to about 30 properties, and that's when I got an office, which I needed desperately. I was still working from my home. I hired a receptionist, and now I have someone to answer the phones, deal with tenants, things like that. But once I got that piece going, I thought, okay, well, now I can just hire a construction manager. I can hire a maintenance technician. I can hire a leasing agent and start delegating all these different tasks that I used to do. You have to pace yourself and make sure that you do that in the right timing, because if you over delegate too early, then you start to miss out on big learning opportunities. I remember delegating my whole renovation, material purchasing, and all of that to my construction manager once I hired them. And while I'm thinking that they're going out, buying the materials, putting them in the property, renovating them, getting them done on time, under budget, what was happening is he was overpaying for the materials. So he wasn't getting the proper discounts and the pricing that we needed on the materials. And all of the materials weren't being used in my properties, right? So there's always going to be leftovers from materials, right? You're not going to use every single screw. There's always going to be an extra piece of sheetrock. There's always going to be an extra light bulb. Like there's always going to be a little bit carpet left over. There's always going to be an extra few pieces of tile left over. So where is that stuff going? It's supposed to be either put in the warehouse or it's supposed to be rolled over into the next property, right? Well, that wasn't happening, but I couldn't see it because I wasn't involved in the process because I had delegated that to somebody else. So once I identified that, I was able to see all of the money that I was losing from material waste, right? And part of that was because I over delegated too soon, right? I turned a huge responsibility, a big part of my investing, which is the cost and the materials and things that go into these properties. I turned that over to somebody else and I entrusted them too soon. Don't make that mistake. You want to make sure that you are hands-on in all of these areas of your business. And don't delegate it until you have 100% confidence and trust that you have a process in place to manage those things. You have accountability across the board where receipts are being reviewed, walkthroughs are being done on the property. You make sure you're taking inventory of all the materials and tracking all the materials and making sure it's going where it's supposed to go. You have to hold people accountable, guys. And if you're just delegating everything, then it's hard to hold people accountable. And I think I did that a little too soon and I missed out on some opportunities. I lost some money and it ended up costing me, but it was a valuable lesson. It was a valuable lesson. And once I corrected those areas, it allowed me to create systems and processes for my business to make sure that even if I did delegate, that there was still some level of accountability so that I didn't lose money. So that's another thing that I want you guys to make sure you try to avoid is over delegating. So let's just recap here real quick. The five don'ts that you want to avoid in real estate investing. Don't get emotional when buying properties. Don't buy in bad areas. Stay away from high interest money, private lenders. Don't take on massive rehab projects that can get you in trouble. And then lastly, do not over delegate, okay? So hopefully you guys can take on that advice and try to avoid those 5 mistakes. Again, those are from my own personal experience through me investing in real estate. Hopefully you guys can learn from that, translate that into your real estate investing careers so that you can be successful as well. Look, guys, real estate investing is the vehicle. I've said it over and over again. I'm going to continue to say it because I want the message to be clear. I want it to be abundant, and I want it to get spread that investing in real estate to create generational wealth is what you want to do. That's why I created this podcast, so that I can share with you my experiences, and hopefully you can use the information from this podcast to jumpstart your real estate career. Okay. So that's it for this show, guys. I'm your mentor, Toby TB Brown. I look forward to the next show. And remember, don't sit on the sidelines. You need to get in this game. You need to take action. You need to take it now. Take that first step. It's not going to be easy. Build a solid foundation, and then you can build the house one brick at a time. I'm out.